Hey guys, today we're going to be covering the globe knot. This knot is a little bit like a monkey fist knot in that it covers a sphere where we've got a ball bearing here, but it's a bit more complicated. It requires a lot more weaving in and out. So what you'll need for this project is some paracord. I'm going to use about 10 feet, a 1-inch ball bearing. That works well if we're going to double up our strands and use 550 cord. And then for tools, you'll need a Type 3 fid and then our scissors and a lighter. Let's dive in. So the method that I'm using here is from J.D. Lenson's Tying It All Together. It doesn't use a mandrel or a jig, it just wraps around your finger in how we will make this knot. For more complicated globe knots, you're definitely going to want that mandrel, but this one is about as complicated as you can make on your finger. So we're going to start out in the middle of our cord, just roughly. We won't be using all of our cord, but it's just good to have some extra to be wrapping, because this is a complicated enough knot that you don't want to get halfway through and then find out that you don't have enough cord. So we're going to take our pointer finger, so we'll drape it across for 1, then 2, 3, 4. So it's going around the front of your finger those 4 times. So when you bring it around on our 4th time, we're going to bring that same end up to go over the first cord, and then working our way towards the left, we're going to move it under that next cord, over the 3rd, and underneath the 4th, like this here. So we've got our 4 going across our finger, and then this loop, you want it laying upwards so that this cord is underneath that last one. At this point, we're going to switch cords. We're going to take that one that goes over the top, find the end of that, and we're going to put that through the opposite way. So underneath that first cord, so you just find the one that the other cord went over, and we're going to go underneath, over the next one, underneath that 3rd, and over the 4th. So now we've essentially got a symmetrical pattern going both directions here, except that this side is under, this side is over. But that's how it's supposed to be. All right, so next, we're going to work this cord back to the left. So grab your end again, and we're going to bring it up past this row to start on this row here, or just above it. And on this time, we're not going to be going the opposite of this cord. We want to do the same. So it's going to go over that first cord, underneath the 2nd, over the 3rd, and underneath the 4th. And just pull all the rest of the cord through. All right, so you'll see that these lay right next to each other. And for now, you can just kind of let those 2 rows be there. Eventually, we're going to be weaving another row in between them, but that's going to come in a little bit. So now we're going to switch cords from this one to this one down here. So we'll find our end, and we're going to go across to the right, doing the same thing as this cord here. So we're going to go underneath that first one, over the 2nd, underneath the 3rd, and over the 4th. And then we're going to be adding another row there too. So that's why this one is the same. Pull your slack through. Then we'll be taking that same cord, this right side one here, and bring that back over to the left now, between our top 2 weaves. So we want to go over this loop. So we're coming up here, over that loop, underneath this 2nd cord, over the 3rd, underneath the 4th, and over that last one. All right, so now we've got under over on just about everything here, except these bottom 2. And we're going to fix that by switching cords again. So this top one that's been hanging out up here, we're going to bring that over our last working end here. So now to go right down the middle of these, we want to do the opposite. So we're going to come under that first one, because this one here goes over. So under the end loop, then over that 2nd one, underneath the 3rd. And these end loops kind of get tangled too, so you want to keep those straight. Over that 4th one, and then we actually want to go underneath this 5th end loop right here. Like that there. Go ahead and pull your extra cord through. Now we've got one more pass to make. And then begins the majority of this knot, which is the tightening down process. So we'll take that same end over on our right side, find our end again. We're going to flip our finger down like this, over to the back side. You can kind of shift it around, it's easier. But you'll notice that these two rows are doing the same over-unders, so we've got to split that one as well. So wrapping our cord up and around, came out the bottom there, went over that last end loop. We're going to go under the first row right here. So the opposite of what's to either side of it. So under, over, under, and over. And that weave can just go right over the top of your finger. It's going to kind of cover the end here. Okay, so now we're done weaving it. You can take it off your finger at this point, and it should hold its shape. Don't pull on the ends too tight, or it's just going to get tangled up. But now's when we'll take our ball bearing and put that on the inside. If you have a tiny little marble, that'll work. We're using a bigger ball bearing because we're going to actually double up the weave. I found that it's a lot easier to get an even globe knot if you double up. And so what I mean by that is we're going to be following the cord through once again, so that every cord that you see here is going to be two cords running parallel. So we want to force that down to the bottom. You can start in the middle if you want. I found it easiest to push it all the way down to the bottom. And you just want to be careful that doesn't pop out the end. If it doesn't go in right, you can kind of start tightening it down first before you put the ball bearing in there. That way you won't have as many big holes that it can fall through. I think I got it in there okay, that it's not going to fall out. So I'm just going to start tightening now with it in there. What I first want to do is move these cross weaves down towards the ball, because I don't want those to get so tight that they aren't going to fit around the ball. And that's where I've gone wrong in the past when I've made these. So without tightening down too much, I'm just going to slide these cross weaves so that they're actually sitting on top of the ball. And then most of our extra cord up here is going to be our weaves going this way. So now that those are all kind of where they need to be, they're not going to be cinched down so tight that they can't fit around the ball. Now I'm going to start feeding the cord through to get rid of some of that excess cord in there. So this is our end. So I'm going to just start tightening down this way a little bit. So I'll just pull a little bit each row to cinch that down. So now just follow the cord around. Now pull all the slack up. You don't want to pull so hard that you make your knot twist and stuff, but just so that it gently rests against the ball bearing. So just keep on following that cord around without letting it twist on us. This is going to be kind of hard to show on camera with all the constantly turning this. But once you get that concept, you should just be able to follow that cord, and it's going to follow through to the other end, and you'll pull out all the rest of your slack there. So we'll do that, and then catch you afterwards with the next steps. So here's our globe knot just loosely tightened down around the ball. So it's taken a circular shape instead of a cylinder around my finger. So everything's stayed where it needs to be. If yours looks significantly different than this, then you might want to back up and tighten it down slower. But if it looks roughly like this, this is where we want to be. At this point, we're going to take out our fid and start on our second pass around. So we're just going to be following that cord around. The fid helps to follow it through, especially if you've tightened it down a little bit more than this. It's just really hard to push that end of the paracord through otherwise. So find the longest end on your leftover cord. Then we just want to look at where these two cords are coming out. All right, so this is my fid end, looking at where these both come out. So we want to follow this cord around, following this one. So we'll just set this one aside, but we'll take that fid end and just follow the same path through. So the same over-unders. We don't want to do opposite on this one. So now that's kind of set in place there. Now it's fairly easy to just, this cord that it's right next to, this cord here, we're just going to keep on following this cord. And you never want them to cross, you just want to keep on following. Mine is on the left side. So I'm just going to keep it going on the left side as we go all the way around. And you also want to make sure that your other end here doesn't get tangled up in that. So we're going to speed this up and show you how to tighten it all down when we're finished. All right, so we're at the point of tightening it down our final time. We followed the cord through until it's at the very end there. On this last bit, we've got one hump going across there instead of the two that are doubled up around the rest. That's okay, that's how we want to leave it. You could tuck it under so that there's three underneath this one, but then it just tends to get jumbled up. So to tighten this down, you'll notice that likely your cords are tighter on the top than around the middle. Our weaves just kind of tend to bunch up on one end. At least that's what I've found to be the case. So just be careful that when you're tightening this down, you don't tighten that down any further. Otherwise, we're going to get an egg shape instead of a ball. So tightening this down is much like we did before, except now we've got our two cords, and it works best to do those both at the same time. So we're just going to take our fid. You can take it off of the end of your cord now, but that's just going to kind of work as a marlin spike knotting tool here. So wherever either of your ends went in, you can just start by following that to the next hump and tightening that down. You want to pull that one hump in between there tight. And then we'll just take that slack through until we get it to come out the other end. When we get there, we're going to have to do once more to tighten up the last strand. You'll see what I mean when we get there. All right, so at this point, we've made it to one end. We've got these two loops here, and if we pull on this one, it'll take that slack out. But now this loop, it's got to go around one more time. So now we'll just be pulling that single loop to get all the rest of the slack out to this end. There's our globe knot all done. I'm pretty satisfied with how this one turned out. It is a little bit tighter on the ends than in the middle. You can see a couple little gaps there, but this might just be because this core is a little bit too big. That's really the hardest part of this, is finding the core that'll fit. Maybe if I had tripled up this paracord, it would have fit better, but then we tend to get it bunched. Here's another one that I made earlier, and I used a smaller core on this one. You can see I doubled up the paracord just like before, but it kind of has that egg shape, and it's lumpier. So that's what happens if you have too much cord on there. So if this is your first time making a globe knot, don't be disappointed if it doesn't look exactly like this. This isn't necessarily the ideal to follow either. A lot of people are better at this than I am. Once you get it down though, you can do a lot of cool things with it, like wrapping a cube in paracord and making keychains and stuff. We'll put a link in the description to where you can buy the supplies for this project. So that includes the paracord, the ball bearing, and the fid. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next one.